That's when you want her not to move ever.
Right, well, yeah, very well, while she's under that command, correct. Now, place is more lenient than like a sit or down, because a down would be like, lay down, don't move, and then sit would be, put your butt down, don't move, but they're very strict. There's no in between.
Okay.
With place, it's lenient in the sense that she can sit, stand, or lay down. She just can't leave the area, okay? Which is why I usually opt to teach this to people, because it's easier for them to reinforce. Unless they're doing like a longer program, then we go over like all the formal commands. If it's a shorter one, I usually just do place. Super simple to teach, easier to reinforce because I don't care what she does. I just care that she doesn't step off of the area itself. Okay. And place can be any number of things. Like we happen to use these elevated dog beds. It can be a blanket, it can be a towel, it can be a kitchen mat, it can be a dog bed.
So it's got to be something she recognizes an area.
Exactly. I had a client use an area rug once, a very large area rug, and so the dog also had the ability to walk around and even run in circles if it wanted to. As long as it stayed within the area of that area rug, it was perfectly fine. Okay, so it can ottoman, couch, a natural human bed, like something that just has a perimeter. Okay, so you couldn't say like place and point to a spot there.
Right.
There's nothing that differentiates where does place end and where does place begin. Okay. So there's two aspects to it. There's the send, and then there's the go there and don't move. Okay. Have you applied it or done anything with it at all?
I have not.
Okay. So, what's your number set at currently?
19.
Let's go ahead and we're going to pull Tyche off. Good. And you're going to, if she tries to go towards it, because she's familiar with it, you're simply going to use your leash. She has a leash?
I forgot that long one.
Oh, I have one. No worries about just saying she had a new leash.
Yeah, she got a new outfit.
Outfit.
That's what we call an outfit, Jesse.
So,
I say something really inappropriate, and I'm like, oh,
no, that's fine.
wrap it up.
So with the if Tyche, if you move towards the bed, like she's gonna assume, right, because she's already familiar with this, is you would use your leash to prevent her from going forward. Okay, and we're gonna wait a moment. So like from where you're at, since she already has familiarity with it, we're just gonna do a few reps without the word, and then we're gonna layer it in very quickly. Okay, as I'm gonna have you go ahead and just when I say tap, you're gonna press your button. Tyche should most likely go straight to the area. Okay. As soon as all four paws or all of Tyche is on the area, we stop tapping. Okay. Now let's say she were to step off of the area, you would start tapping and use some counter pressure to bring her back like this. Okay. So there's no words yet. I'm gonna have you go ahead and start tapping here. You're gonna go tap, 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 and a little bit of forward pressure towards the area mat. Tap. There we go. Tap, tap. A little bit more. There we go. Good. Yeah, glad you haven't done this before. Keep going. Okay. And go ahead and get an itch the word break. Break. And we're going to back away. And we're going to pull the leash to bring Tyche with us. Yeah, move it, go. And a girl. We're going to repeat that a few more times, okay? And go ahead and bring her a little bit closer. About there. Hold, right? Good. So we don't want her to just assume. And now you're going to tap, tap, tap. A little bit of leash pressure. Tap, tap. Like that. And a girl. Good job. Wait a moment.
No energy when she comes here.
What are you doing?
She's getting electrocuted.
What are you doing? She looked like she filled out a bit here
Yeah.
in the past couple of weeks.
Somebody asked us if she was pregnant. And we're worried.
Oh, really?
Looks like she is.
You got some little doughy babies?
Oh, God.
No,
It
thank
wouldn't
you.
be with another dog, that's for sure.
Who'd be the daddy? Go ahead and say break. We're going to do
Break.
3 more. And back away. Yeah, girl. Good job. Good girl. No, I think she's just finally like filling out.
Yeah. Well, she went through, I don't know what
first
it's
heat.
called. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
So she's,
A little bit of leash pressure.
and she's a year now.
Really? My pit went on her first heat like right at 6 months. A little bit
Really?
after. Yeah.
No, she was like, I swear to God, it happened in July, but it took till September to like go through it all.
Interesting.
Because everything was swollen for forever. It's still slightly swollen, but
Sure.
I just called and said, we gotta get her spayed, I don't care.
Sure.
So next month, she gets spayed,
Yeah.
everything goes back to normal after that, like, right? Shrinks.
Oh, it's funny because I did notice. I felt like I did see some swelling like the last time I saw her.
Yeah.
But yeah, my pet had her heat because I was gonna get her spayed prior, but then I couldn't get the appointment in, and then she went to heat, so then I had to wait, and then she got spayed afterwards.
How long did he take though?
Hers wasn't. I don't think it was that long. Cause remember she was wearing a diaper. I think it was just.
But don't you have to wait till all the swelling goes back to normal too?
Well, I didn't get her like spayed immediately after, but
Yeah.
it was like shortly after her. Who would know is Steve.
Oh.
But since Steve breeds the collies and stuff, like he
Yeah.
knows that all the breeding stuff and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Go to release, break,
Right?
and 2 more. Go, go, go. Yeah, girl. A couple of more.
Her breeder said, don't get her spayed until she goes through at least 1 cycle.
Well, she said
Heat
2
cycle.
cycles, but
Yeah.
optimal. I'm not doing it for what,
Yeah, I know there's like some that say because of joint stuff, some say because of like size and everything. I mean, I've seen people do things by the book and their dog still gets like screwed up. It's just however it works out.
Look it, we got beautiful ears and she still wears them like a bat.
Go ahead, move forward. Yep. Yeah, the girl, much better. Girl, much more smooth. Huh?
Yes.
Girl, we're gonna do 1 more. Okay.
We took her to the dog park. I put the collar on her. I didn't really reinforce the come with the long leash because she always stays next to me. She won't run away
She
from
won't
me,
leave, sure.
which I
Yeah.
guess is good.
Yep.
But, so I just took her
Good girl.
to the dog park. I got up to like 49 before she would even acknowledge that I existed.
Sure,
When I said come.
sure.
Come.
Because of distraction. So you're gonna do the same thing here on, but now when you present Tyche, you're gonna come to that stop here, and then before you start the tapping, you're actually gonna cue the word place, then start tapping, and then leash pressure if needed.
Okay.
Yeah, because there was more going on, tighter enclosure,
Yeah.
right?
But I
Now,
wanted to make sure with you, I'm checking in
Place.
to make sure
place. Yep. So just there you go, good girl.
that I wasn't doing, you know what I mean? Like I wasn't really screwing up, doing something wrong. Because
Well-
I tried to do it and she just, even like at the cabin, she just
Come.
will stay with me
Good. 4 more.
the whole time.
Sure. So if we're having a hard time with her leaving your side, that's why I do like the 2-person drills.
Yeah.
Because I do get dogs like that. Place? Yep. Where they're like Velcro dogs and they don't leave the owner. So then we have to force the disconnect so that we can actually practice the
You have to
the
help
calls.
me then.
Break.
Come.
Okay. Understood.
So you're at the dog park, right? She's sticking to you, but then at some point she does.
So at the dog park, she leaves.
Oh, okay, so she does go.
Yeah.
But then you have to go to 49 to get her to come back.
Right.
Okay.
And then she does. I mean, she looks electrocuted, but whatever.
Did she, when you went to 49, what happened?
She didn't grab. It was a stubborn, like, I'm not coming.
Sure, she was
And
frustrated.
then she would drop the ball she had, which was, of course, somebody else's ball.
Mhm.
And then a couple of times, like, she picked the ball back up before I got to her. And then eventually, she just came to me. But she wasn't super subservient. She
Sure.
was
So-
slightly.
Practice, practice, practice.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Because you went from,
0 to,
yeah, because dog parks, like, especially if there's other dogs and other things involved, a lot more distractions.
she's really good with the collar, though. When she's
Yes.
out the collar.
Even if she's just wearing it, she's better.
Right. That's why I tell everybody it's like a cop on a collar.
Yep.
Because when you need it, you have it. When you don't need it,
No, I know.
Yeah. I sent you the bonker videos, right?
Yeah, I did it.
Okay. How did she take to it?
She stops.
Yeah, she kind of stops.
Okay.
But the problem is, it's like, where the hell is the bunker?
Yeah, that's why I tell people to make multiple.
It's
know.
just like,
She had all the time.
and if you saw our house, we're like in total renovation mode.
Oh,
I was
that's
like,
right.
Where's that goddamn bunker?
Yeah. No, I usually tell people to make about 3 to 5
Okay.
to have like either in a different room or whatever, and to have it, handy, or to have it when they know the dog's going to be like bratty or whatever. Because
Well, and I don't even hit her hard. I just,
You gotta make it, you gotta hit her hard.
I don't have to hit her hard.
That guy wails on her, that dog in the
He
video.
does. He does.
have to wail on your dog?
Well, think of it this way.
I guess you do.
It's the same thing as this. It's the same thing as this.
Yeah.
They gotta feel it to make it reinforcement.
It can be you bop her, right? And you have to bop her every day. She stops, but you have to bop her every day, right? Or you can just, like he said, wail on her, and you do it, and then 6 months goes by before you have to do it again.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm at the 20 now, Jesse. It's only taken 5 classes.
Going to bring her a little bit closer and do a couple more with the place.
Okay.
What were we supposed to work on today?
The second half of recall.
Oh,
Recall's a 2-step, a 2-class thing. Last week we did, good. Or not last week, the week prior, since Ron was here, I did something simpler. So this way I could have both of you for the recall.
Good girl.
yeah.
We're going to do one more.
Place is not good for a restaurant, right? Lay down is,
No, you can use place. You just have to bring something with you,
okay.
you know? Or like ask them for a bunch of napkins.
Place.
And then make a little place for her. And a girl. So, kind of tagging along to your question there, place is mobile. Okay, so like let's say you use a towel or a dog bed in the home, and you can move it from the living room to the dining room to the bedroom to the kitchen, whatever. So you can move that around. Or some people have like one in the kitchen, one in the dining room, one in the bedroom, whatever. So there's one in each designated room. And when they're in the bedroom, they say place, the dog's going to go to that particular one.
Yep.
If they're in the kitchen, the dog will go to that particular one. Okay, unless you had one place for the entire home, then your dog would learn to go to one specific one. Okay, and then I have clients that keep like a towel or a blanket or a mat or even a dog bed in their car, meant for like, hey, we're gonna go to the restaurant and bring my dog along, and I have a place already in the back. And then they go plop it down, place, and then they can enjoy their brunch or their dinner.
Makes sense.
I opt for this command when I'll tell owners to do this when they're going to be more distracted, because this is easier. Because you don't care what she does, you just care she doesn't step away. Okay, but if you down her, you need to reinforce the down. So that's going to be more work for you. Does that make sense? Because it's more strict.
Right.
So that's why I opt for this, because it's just super simple for everybody. Go to a friend's house, you can bring it along, or maybe you didn't bring it, but they have a mat there. All you would need to do is condition a couple of these repeats with the place and the send, and she goes, oh, this is also a place.
Oh, and tell him about doing it for a long period of time, and doing it like while we're eating dinner. Instead of putting her in the crate, do the place, and then just zap her when she tries to get off.
Okay. So,
Or like when we're watching TV.
I never see this dog like this. This thing's like running 90 miles an hour.
That's because she's got this collar on her.
so
It really calms her ass down.
we'll talk about 2 topics here. First, we'll cover the duration aspect of this, because there's 2 points to this.
Okay.
Right now, you're doing the send. I say this, you go here. Okay? And then once that gets really fluid, you just say place, boom, there she goes. The second part to this would be you go here, you don't move for the next 30 minutes, 3 hours, hour. You determine that length of time. Okay? So if you look at the base of these columns, you see how that has a leash there?
Yep.
And they all have a leash at the bottom of them. And we have mats next to each column here. We have like a little cheat system where like pre-COVID, we would have as many as 4 boarding trains. Okay? So each dog would be on their own placemat, and they would be tethered. So they could get off of the place, they just couldn't get far. So then I could be here working with another dog. I see that dog getting off. I would have the remote here. I would correct them. They'd go back on because they couldn't go anywhere else, and then I continue training this dog. Then 10 minutes later, the other dog trying to get off, and then I remote that dog, right? So I'm able to correct them from a distance, and I remove myself from the picture, okay? So that's the way to cheat the system. And so if you have like a very heavy table, if you have a couch, something that you cannot move, right? So like some of my clients have the old school built-in radiators, and they're off during the summer.
Yeah.
They use those for the tether because the dog's not going to pull that, right? And they would just put the bed, and now they can do whatever.
Yeah.
Okay? If the client doesn't have that kind of setup, then we have to do phases. Okay, so the first phase would be if I'm sitting on the couch and then Tyche's bed would be here, I'm placing her here, so she's not in my immediate space. So if she tries to sneak away, it's easy for me to correct and her to go back on, right? So if I'm gonna watch TV for an hour, I put her here, 20 minutes later, she's like, I'm bored, I'm gonna try to sneak away. I wouldn't say place, I would just correct her. She would go back on place, Okay, so I don't repeat the command. Otherwise, you're creating a problem. And that problem's going to be, you're going to be constantly repeating. And I had this happen.
Ron loves to say the same thing. Like, seriously, you own your stuff. Like, you like to say the command 20 times.
Right. A lot of people do. So we say it once, and then we simply reinforce it with the remote collar.
Yep.
So I have a client yesterday. We taught her dog down last week. And then she's like, Jesse, like I have to say down 20 times. Is that normal? And I said, no. Well, I'm like, yes, if you're repeating a lot,
Yeah.
but no, if you're using my method. And she's like, well, what's your method? And I was like, well, I cue the command. 20 minutes later, the dog tries to get up. I don't repeat anything. I simply jump to remote and make them do it. Even if it takes them 5 minutes for them to do it again, I make them do it. So then the dog learns, if I want to avoid this,
Yep.
I don't get up. But if you say place again, you're resetting the command. It's a new place. She never learned that she doesn't get up with the first one.
Right.
Okay, so it's a very small detail, and people struggle with it all the time. But that's why our dogs, within like a couple of weeks of being here and then just doing duration work, we don't have to repeat. We send them and they stay there. You know?
Yeah.
But we're very consistent with if we see them try to sneak off, or we see the thought of sneaking off, we correct it, we don't say anything. So then they think, all right, we go here and we can sit, stand, lay down, chew on a bone, you know, play with the ball. We just can't leave the space. Okay?
I repeat myself because if she doesn't have the collar on, I will tell her, let's say, to sit.
Mhm.
If she doesn't do it, then I keep giving the command. If she has a collar on, it's a couple hits and she'll do it.
So, in the moments where she doesn't have the collar right, and you're telling her to sit, what is it for? What are you trying to address?
If she doesn't have the collar on and we're actually walking, come to a stoplight, I'll tell her to sit. She won't do it, I'll tell her again. And then, like the third time, I'll touch her back, then she'll sit.
Gotcha. So what I do is one, if you can't make it happen, I typically don't say anything. Okay, so let's say I'm just starting with training a dog.
Okay.
And I just started recall. And I'm in a setting where, let's say I'm in a play area and they're running around free, and I don't want to, I don't use the word come there because I just started teaching it. I don't have a means of making it happen. So I just go and I grab the dog. I avoid calling them in the first place.
So you would just have, in that case, Ron would just put her butt down, but
Right off
not
the bat.
say sit.
Correct. I would come to a stop and then just boom, right? And if she got up, I would just repeat it. Because that's what it is. Like heel is, you know, you're not saying heel, but if you're trying to build the habit of like just every time I stop, like my pit, if I brought my pit out right now without any words and just stopped, she's just going to put her butt down. Even though she's not under command. It's just so ingrained in her that she just learns, like, when Jesse's not moving, I just put my butt down, you know? And then you see her, she's super just passive. So, and I have videos of her, like, working with clients, and they're just like, Jesus, she is so calm. I'm like, this is just constant reinforcing, you know, throughout, you know,
Burns it in.
years. Yeah, that's just a dog now. So, for Tyche, if you go out with her without the collar, and it's like, I need you to sit here to make a little stop, you just make it happen and reinforce it. I don't even say it. Okay? Now, if you did say it, no big deal. You just don't repeat it. You just make her do it immediately.
Right.
Okay? If she doesn't comply. Because dogs are about consistency. Yes, dogs are all about consistency.
Yep.
They don't care about how it happens. They care about that it happens. So whether I use food, leash pressure with hand pressure, remote or prong collar, the dog just thinks every time Jesse says sit, I always have to do this. Always. Right? And eventually it's so consistent that the dog is just, they don't even think about it. They're like, okay, because I know you're going to make me do it. Okay? So, other questions?
Yes. So she's got a fucking hard head. I spent 2 hours in the dog park.
Oh, great.
Yesterday or the day before, she picked up another dog's play toy.
Okay.
It was very distinct coloring. She picked it up, and then she pranced around the park for 40 minutes. I couldn't get her to stop. She was playing the game, come and get it from me, and there's no way you can catch this. She's
Too fat.
She didn't have a collar on. She didn't have a collar on.
Yeah.
She was running free, running around, and literally, I had to call Dominique up. I was like, come and get, because she was playing the game towards me, and just taking off. I couldn't even get close to her. Would not give up the toy to the people who owned it. Lady goes, just drop it off at my building. So 2 hours in the fucking dog park, and I couldn't get close enough to even catch her.
Sure.
She didn't have a collar on.
Sure.
I just wanted to know I
So
did it.
Dominique wasn't part of the whole game.
Sure.
So I call her up, and she comes over and tackles, almost tackles her with a treat, and that's it. It was over in like 2 minutes. I was pissed.
Sure. Hi, you troublemaker.
Yeah.
So what did we learn?
With the collar on.
So,
Never goes out without it.
so a couple of things there is, this is why for me as a rule, I tell clients, just put the collar on and walk your dog, right? So like I had one client, actually this happened a couple times with different clients. They hit their dog with reactivity, lunging and barking at dogs. And the dog's doing great. And they just run out for a quick 30 seconds. And then they're like, Jesse, it was fucking hell. 20 dogs decided to walk in front. I'm like, the 20 dogs didn't decide to walk, 20 people decided to walk their dogs, but it was a parade of dogs, and I'm sitting there with my dog just like going out of control. I'm like, what did you learn? Even if it's a 30-second potty break, you don't know what life's going to throw at you, right? That's one thing. But that's, of course, for them, it's an easy decision because their dog has behavioral issues, right? Obviously, you have Tyche. She's very friendly. She's very sweet and all that stuff. But then you come across this, right? Where it's like an annoyance. It is a chunk of your day.
I didn't think dogs could do that. Excuse me. She's literally screwing with you. Come and get the ball.
Yeah, it's fine.
She's just playing with you. She's
Yeah,
not,
but
I didn't think dogs did
manipulating.
that.
Oh, yeah. All the time. I'm surprised. Did she ever do that with a puppy? When she was little?
No.
No, like, it's super common, like puppy pick up a sock, owner wants to get the sock from the puppy, puppy's running around with it,
Oh yeah, of course she did that.
Yeah.
I give her, of course, what I do, I give her a treat so I can take the sock. Then you told me no. I was like, oh, I see the point. But it worked.
Right.
But I didn't think that they had that in them.
Well, you see it as a manipulation by the dog. The
Yeah.
dog
Yes.
sees it as play.
Yeah, and that moment is play. Like dogs can manipulate to a degree, but that was for sure like play because it's fun for her, right? Not funny for you, fun or funny, until like maybe in hindsight.
Yeah.
But obviously, like you're not the first person, you're not going to be the last person, right? And even with my guys, like if I know they're going to be off leash, they have their collars on. I don't need to put collars on my guys because I'm a trainer, whatever. But like a couple of times, just walking down the boulevard, somebody has shot off a random firework, and my pit hates fireworks. She is super anxious and very panicky with them. So even though I'm a good handler, I can't break through that anxiety.
No.
So then I'm like walking home with my pit, and I'm like 2 miles away, and I'm just like, this sucks, right? And I'm like, I wish I would have just had my collars on them, but whatever. I wasn't expecting a random firework, but it's that same annoyance. You know what I mean?
It's got to be prepared.
Yes. So I'm all about the rather have it, not need it, than need it, not have it. It's completely normal. It has nothing to do with the training methods or anything like that. Because I hate when I hear crap like, well, if you just had a great relationship with your dog, like the dog would do that. And I'm like, that is the stupidest shit I've ever heard. Okay? Like,
I gave that stupid shit a lot of money.
So I had a client
I
earlier.
blame you.
One of the most, again, a very common thing is the dog wants to please. Okay? Yes, themselves. Okay? That was pleasing for who when she did that game?
Oh, her.
Yeah, absolutely, right? If she really wanted to please you, she would have just did what you said.
Absolutely.
Right? So that tells you dogs are self-serving. It's opportunistic behavior. I get it, right? And like I would be laughing too, because obviously it's funny. But that's why I'm like, so this particular consultation, the young lady was like, oh, you can tell he wants to please because he always gives me eye contact. I'm like, he's giving you eye contact because you have a treat in your hand. And he wants what's in your hand. That's one thing. And then two, the dog had actually yanked the leash out of her hand and ran into the street and hit a car.
Oh my God.
Okay, now he was fine. But I told her, I was like, do you think he did that to please you? And she's like, no. I was like, because he was going towards the dog. I was like, he did that to please himself.
Yes.
Right? So, there's a lot of BS out there. I don't mean to burst people's bubbles, but I'm very realistic and I just say how it is. Dogs are self-serving. If she has the means to do what she wants, she will give them an inch, they'll take them out.
Yes.
Okay? So, it's not so much that you're becoming dependent on the collar, it's just opportunistic behavior. If she can get away with it, she will.
Yep.
You know?
Oh,
Humans do the same thing.
At many dinners,
Oh, God, yeah.
having a barbecue, a couple of steaks. I literally went like this, turned, and she swallowed 2 big steaks.
Wow.
Like, she doesn't chew.
Sure, yeah, no, yeah, I get it. My pit, the same thing. I give my pit a piece of steak. It's the same thing. Two bites, whatever.
I'm not exaggerating. If it was
It's
2
like
and a
we're
half
having a hot
seconds,
dog.
3 seconds, it was gone. I was like, oh, fuck, yeah. And same thing, which she tried to grab the other day. Oh, a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
If it's out, if she can get to it, she will get it.
Was this, and this is in the home and stuff?
It's in the home.
Okay. So,
That's
in
the
the home.
bonker?
Excuse me?
Is that the bonker?
Yes.
I got the difference between I think I do, the bonker and the collar.
What's the difference?
So, the irritating behavior you don't like when she barks, because now she barks. So, you asked me, does she bark? No, she doesn't bark. Literally, it's you. She barks like the next day,
And
all
yes,
over the place. So the
barks a
barking
lot.
is the bonker. Place or maybe come in the park
Oh,
is the.
we gotta ask. So if another dog walks down our corridor, she could hear or smell it somehow,
Sure.
and she goes off. And so what I've been doing is saying, okay, I'm acknowledging it, she's doing the right thing. I don't know if it's a dog or a person or whatever. And so, but then she doesn't stop.
Sure. Yeah.
So we want to acknowledge that she, if someone comes to knock on the door or somebody walks down the hall, she's barking, 1 bark, 2 barks, not a big deal to us, but now she barks.
It's in the skin
It's
like
excessive.
1 second. Yeah, exactly.
Like
Yeah.
for 3
So-
minutes.
That's way too much. So, bonker is simply for stuff we want to stop. Okay? So I wouldn't say sit if she didn't do it, I wouldn't bonker.
Right.
Okay? That's e-collar, because we can shape behaviors with the e-collar.
Mhm.
That's how we just shaped this, right? We tap, and you go there, and it goes away. That's shaping something, okay? Stopping something is simply an aversive. So, like, have you ever touched the hot stove? Would you do it again? No, right? That was an aversive. Yeah, not intentionally, you know?
Right, so that's the bonker. But do you understand that difference?
So, like, the front door. Now, you can shape the barking in the home a lot of ways, okay? Let's say, you know, like, the building is secure, and you don't have to worry about, like, a random person just, like, trying to come in, right? That anybody that she hears in the hallway is a neighbor.
Right.
You could technically correct all that, and she will learn to recognize that don't bark at these sounds. She can learn to recognize those sounds, whether it's a dog or a person, okay? Because everybody has their own cadence. The way they walk and the way their foot's, you know, land and
Recognize
stuff.
that?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and then like, let's say a dog tags from particular dogs in the hallway, they can recognize all this stuff. So when you correct her, she's going, okay, these sounds I don't bark at. But like maybe there's like a delivery guy coming up making an in-home delivery to one of the units. That's completely out of the building, unknown cadence, she's gonna bark.
Yep.
Okay,
How can we tell the difference?
you gotta listen.
Sometimes I don't hear the crap she
So-
hears though.
No, that's true.
Or
So-
the fact that she looks out the window and starts barking now.
Yeah.
What
We
are you barking
live on the
at?
6th floor. It's 80 feet down.
Yeah, how old is she now?
One.
Yeah.
She just turned 1.
Yeah, so this is teenager phase.
Oh,
Okay, so that's why you're seeing a shift right now.
okay.
So this is simply an example. Okay, so let's say I have a client that goes, Jesse, my dog barks at everything in the hallway. I don't need them to because I know the building is safe. But I just want the dog to bark when they knock, when somebody knocks. And then I'll tell them, anytime the dog barks at anything else, you correct it, okay, with the bonker. Every time, very firm. And then what you're doing is you're eliminating the barking at those sounds that you know don't matter. But when someone knocks, she's gonna bark. You're just distinguishing, right?
Yeah.
Now, there's more to the, you know, because if the person knocking is gonna enter the home, you know, if she's social and she's good, then you don't have to worry about it. But like, I get dogs that will continuously bark when the guest comes in and won't shut up for like 30 minutes, you know? So then I go, we have to stop that. So it's healthy that they're barking to alert, but unhealthy that they're doing it for 30 minutes. So then we have to have like the, okay, thanks for letting me know, but now you need to shut up,
Right.
okay? You dictate that. Some of my clients go, no, I like the barking at every little sound. I just want to be able to stop it, right? So then I'll tell them, you would cue the word quiet, and then you would correct your dog with the bonker. So the dog thinks, I can bark until I hear the word quiet. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you have different approaches. You don't bark period at these things, you only bark when someone knocks. Or you can bark until I say quiet, otherwise I'll correct you, and then you would bark like at the doorknob or whatever, right? Let's say barking out the window. You know, if you're on the top floor and you're like, we don't care about what's outside, you could just absolutely correct that, no warning, because you know you're so high up off the ground that what's outside doesn't matter.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you can be logical for her. She doesn't care what the rule is. Okay? You can have any rules you want, as long as they're being consistent and they're within reason. So like I had a client who didn't like that her dog sniffed other dogs' butts.
That's what dogs do?
That's what dogs do, yes, I know. So
I get it.
now I know how to correct that behavior, but I didn't, because I was like, you shouldn't have a dog then. You should have gotten a goldfish, okay? So within reason, right? Because I'm not going to take something away from the dog that is natural to the dog and isn't, bad. She was just like, it's gross. I'm like, well then, don't have a dog then. But stuff like that, she's not doing anything bad, but in the home, you're like, you pay for the rent, you pay for the vet bills, you pay for the training, you pay for all her food, her nice new outfit, all this stuff, right? You can have your rules. I don't care what they are. Everybody's home rules is different. I just care that they're consistent, okay? So, and I would suggest that people make a list.
Yeah.
So that this way, you know exactly what you're going to disagree with and what you're not going to disagree with. And you can always change things. Like, let's say you move, and you move into like a standalone home.
I'm
that
not
is just,
moving anywhere.
well, let's just pretend. And you're, it's one floor. And you're like, you know what, I would like her to bark out the window now. Because now we're not,
Right,
so many floors up. It's a different scenario. And she would learn the rules of the new home, And so you can change things. I just don't want them to change every other day. Because that's like if green, red, and yellow changed meanings every other day, there'd be tons of accidents. The fact that they're consistent and green is go, yellow is slow, and red is stop, makes it consistent. I'm so tired, very hard work.
She's so dramatic.
Makes things very simple for people. Same thing for the dog, okay? So, when you bonk, if you're wanting to progress this quickly, firm. Like dogs bite each other, right? So you whacking her firmly on the head, like you saw in that video, like that, he's very firm, but he right away proved the point to the dog, right?
Drove it home.
And then everything else outside of that was he was like, good.
Do you say no, Jesse, when you do the bonk? Because now when I say, I must say no and then bonk her, because sometimes now when I say no, she'll stop doing whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So can I say no, or?
Okay, so it's personal preference. Now, this is where me and those trainers disagree, because I think it was Jeff Gellman and Gary Wilkes were the two videos you watched. Jeff Gellman was the guy with the long hair, and Gary Wilkes was the guy sitting on the ground. And they say no, okay? I don't say no, I just correct for things that I don't want to see again, okay? And I use no for things that I just want to be able to control. Because the way her brain works is if I say no, let's say barking when somebody walks by, if I say no and she stops barking, she's learning within that context, she can no longer bark at that particular thing that walked by. But then 10 minutes later, something else walks by. She starts barking. Then I got to say no again. Okay, so I have to say no every single time. But if I know I don't want it, period, I simply correct it. So it's like for us. If I don't want to get a ticket, I don't run a red light. I don't go past the speed limit. I don't do a rolling stop at stop signs. I know if I don't do those things, I should have no issues with cops, right? If I do those things, I'm expecting to get a flash, get a ticket in the mail, all that stuff, right? Same thing for the dog. If it's behavior correction, she thinks the only way to avoid that correction is not to perform the behavior. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So then...
when would you say no?
Let's say, I think the easiest one would be like barking out the window, okay? Let's say, again, you're in a standalone home, your window's right by the sidewalk, and she's barking, and you don't want to kill that because you don't want to kill security, but then you see she's barking at kids playing in the front. No.
Okay.
Now, you've taught her...
So it's something very, very, very specific.
Correct. Okay. So when you want to control a behavior, you need a cue followed by a consequence, okay? So like, let's say jumping on people. As a default rule, I would teach you don't jump on anybody, including myself, right? But I can teach the dog to jump on me when given permission, but then it would be unfair to randomly correct them when I decide I'm done without any words, because the dog doesn't know, right? So then I would need the word off. So if I said off and the dog didn't remove themselves, I can then correct, okay? So then the next time I go up and the dog jumps up and they go off, they just remove themselves because they know what's going to happen next, okay? So,
One thing is good, I've never seen her jump on anybody.
No, you know what she does now for anxiety is she chews on her dog bed. Like,
Yeah.
she sucks on it, yeah, I do. And she chews it, like, puts holes in everything. Like
That's
a
why
tailor.
I see you throw a bunker.
I did, Matt,
firm.
yeah.
So
You know-
I have a.
We do have a lesson, though, that we have to learn, FYI.
Oh, sorry, I got one more though. We have a place, she gets run free. She loves, there's all kinds of animals, squirrels, there's birds this big. She loves it, runs around, she's no leash, no
Nothing.
nipper, nothing. Her favorite thing to go after is squirrels. So then we come back to the city, and we go to the park to the
But that's when
to
you
the
go,
west.
"Zzz."
But it goes, she reverts back to being able to just chase after squirrels.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. So she has to learn context,
Yes.
right? So the way that would work is, let's say in that setting where it's looser and you don't do anything, that's her like her vacation time, right? From everything. As soon as you come back in the city though, you have to be consistent, collars on. And the moment she goes into like free for all, I start correcting. So what she's learning is in the city, it's not a free for all for the squirrels and all that stuff. There's rules and boundaries. But when she's out in that
They
space,
differentiate that?
yeah, because it's dogs are by
Environment.
association, environment, who they're with. So like, let's say, like me myself, like I'm very strict with dogs, right? But then let's say like I had a girlfriend who wasn't strict with the dogs. The dogs would get away with more and learn they could play with that personality type more. And that with me, they have to like be super obedient, right? Context. It's kind of like kids.
But they understand context, which is, all
Yeah,
right, that's
and it could
good,
be-
because we're different, very different.
It can be through person, it can be through environment, you know? The context of collar on, collar off. You know, it's very nuanced.
100 degrees difference.
Yeah.
So-
180.
Yeah, no, this is all, she's a 3 to 4 year old kid in her brain forever. Okay, so a 3 to 4 year old kid must be told what to do, be made to do, right? Like if it's like, if my mom was like, clean up your toys and put them away, and I
Can I
didn't,
get her to do that?
I got spanked. It was funny because I was doing a consultation and I told the person, I was like, your dog is a 3 to 4 year old child forever. And they like kind of like shook, like what? And I'm like, forever, your dog's a 3 to 4 year old child. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, your dog would never be an 18-year-old to a 21-year-old mentally. They're like, really? I'm like, yes. I'm like, how smart do you think dogs are? Like 3 to 4 year old child. So, you know, that's why I was like, I tell everybody that you have to make or tell your dog what to do. Otherwise, they just serve themselves, you know? So it's nothing out of the ordinary. I deal with this stuff all the time. And it's relatively simple stuff, so. Okay. Other questions?
That
I
was
think
it.
we're done.
Different questions?
What's your time?
22.
22. And you started at what, 7?
7.
Okay, so we got 20 minutes, right? Okay.
Yeah, we can,
No, this is a simple, this exercise is actually simple.
I'm glad though that you got all your questions out, Roxy.
You gotta wake up, dog.
Yeah, she's gonna have to get up now.
Come on, get up.
Get up,
Break.
Lindsay.
Break, come on, say the word.
Break.
Break and then move back and pull.
Break.
There you go. She's just because we sent her so many times, and she's just like, why the hell should I just get off? And he's just sending right back. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and clip this on her. And let me get you another leash so that we don't get her new outfit dirty. There you go. I'll take that. We're gonna catch this one.
It's really a summer outfit, but I don't know, Ron.
Oh, it's like a biothane one? Very
Ron
fancy.
had to have it now. We have also a black one for, formal.
I have a client here that puts bows
Oh,
on
gosh.
her dog's collar and then she's got her ball bow. All right, so who's gonna do the first recall?
I'll do it.
All right. So I'm gonna explain the exercise. It's very simple. Okay. If we call Tyche to us, right? She comes and she lands here. Okay.
Yeah,
If I were to move back, what should Tyche do?
follow you.
Yes. Okay. So the come and call is not just like a come here, because a lot of people will think if I call a dog and I move, they should stay.
Yeah,
And I go, no, they should actually move with you.
okay.
So what we're gonna do is you're gonna do a recall.
All right.
Once Tyche lands, any direction is fine except forward leg. Okay.
Okay.
So you wouldn't want to do this,
Gotcha.
or let's say I'm gonna go to the right, I wouldn't do this.
All right, so my body's always with her.
Right. And you're gonna be moving either backwards like this or side like that. Okay.
Okay.
Very awkward movements because I don't want her to think. Run away, no. I don't want her to think that you're going into heel. That's why we don't move straight forward. Okay, so we don't make her think we're going into a heel. So first, it'll be Tyche come,
Okay.
tapping, moving back, okay, waiting a moment. Then you would step back a couple of steps. If she follows, you're good. Wait for her to settle, which means put her butt down. Then you would do like a side step, and I'll coach you through it.
Okay,
But it's going to be very step by step, okay?
all right.
So whenever you're ready here.
Ron, you're not helping.
She started.
No, she didn't call her.
Anything.
Come on.
See what I have to work with?
I should start a rent-a-trainer program. We could send someone out to you.
I think there's some couples that can appreciate that. Okay, Tyche, come.
Tap, back, tap. Back, tap, tap. Good, hold right there. Now wait a moment. Hold on, Ron. So what we're gonna do here is give a tap so she puts her butt down. Tap. Okay. Now here, you're gonna take 2 steps to your immediate left. 1, 2. Okay. Wait a moment. Tap. Now you're gonna move backwards. Tap, tap, because see how she moved away from you? We need to bring her in closer. Tap, back, tap, 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 tap. Hold right there. Good, tap, tap. Good. Now she puts her butt down. That's good. Now you're gonna go back 2 steps. 1 and 2. Tap, 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 tap. There she goes. Wait a moment. And tap, tap, tap. Good. Go ahead and praise. And the girl. And break. Good. We're going to bring her back to Ron. We're going to repeat.
Pay attention to this, Ron. It's complicated but easy.
Cheap shot.
We have to figure out how to make time for this. For this one, we need each other.
Think of it.
Come.
Tap, back, tap, tap, backwards, tap, tap, tap. Good. There she goes. And wait a moment. Good. Now tap for the auto sit. Tip. Good girl.
Good
You're
girl.
going to move back 3 steps. 1, 2, 3. Tap, 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 tap. Go ahead and start reeling in your leash as you're tapping. Tap, 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 tap,
Do I go
tap,
up? No,
tap.
I would
This is good.
normally go up.
Excuse me?
I would normally go up.
Yes, but right now, because we're doing something new, we're just kind of helping her out.
Okay.
Tap, tap, tap. Add a girl. You're gonna take 2 steps to your immediate right. Tap, 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 tap. Go ahead and bump it. There she goes. tap. Add a girl. Good. Let her settle. Tap. Tap. Tap.
Pull
Yep.
up on the leash.
Go ahead and bump it. Tap. 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 She's distracted by Cash over there. Go ahead and bump it. Tap.
Pull up on the leash, don't you?
Should they do that to us?
Tap. Let's go ahead and, because she's distracted by Cash here. So go ahead and just keep tapping here. Tap. Tap. Bump it. Oh, there it is. Good girl. And we're going to do one more movement. We're going to do 2 steps backwards. 1 and 2. Tap. Tap. Good. And wait a moment. Tap. That's fine. And praise. Good girl. Yes, it's been a rough day. All right.
Good. Ron, your turn. See, no, I would have made her sit, though, and I would have pulled her leash up. Is that...
So the reason why we do as much as we can through the remote, like there are certain things that I was like, okay, we'll help her. And then that last bit, she was just distracted because Cash over there adjusted himself in the kennel.
Yeah.
So that wasn't so much her not knowing what to do. It was really like her just being distracted.
But look, when we do this outside, there's going to be a million things to distract.
Exactly. So the reason why this is important is because you're learning exactly how high you're needing to bump it when you're in a more realistic context and there's distractions going on. Raising the number is super common to compensate what's going on in the, like, you know, to override that stuff. But if you're not used to like bumping it and recognizing when you're at the appropriate number,
Yeah.
and then one day there's an emergency and it's like, I need you to return, and like, I've never done this before,
Yeah.
that's where things get dicey.
Gotcha.
Okay, and come.
No command, right?
No, you can, Tyche, come.
Thank you, come.
Yep, back, tap, tap. Good, back. Back, 1, back, walk backwards. 1, 2, 3, that's good. Wait, right there. Now, tap for the auto sit. Wait a moment, yep. Tap. Tap. Yeah, use that remote to make her sit. There you go, good. Now,
Can we discuss this really quick?
sure.
Should he have not put the
Correct, he should have used the remote.
You should have used the remote.
I did.
No, you put the leash up.
Remote with no leash. Just pure remote.
Oh, don't use the leash.
Don't use the leash, yeah. Okay, because she's just distracted here. You see how she's like sniffing her butt now and like looking at the ground and stuff? Because I can tell you're still not at the appropriate number right now. Because she's not caring about what's going on with the exercise. Like she's completely in her own world.
So she has to go up.
Yes. All right, more power makes for more concern, which makes what we say important.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to be chasing her around for a ball, again, for another 40 minutes. Okay? Now here, you moved a little too quickly. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to have you just reset, because we're doing an additional part to the recall.
So we're going to do it again
Correct.
from the beginning. Because you don't listen. Come on here. Come on, boy. Let's go.
You got the long ball. Yeah.
Come on, baby. Come on. It's a little mess.
That's it.
Good. Now wait a moment. Yep. Wait. Good. We'll pause. Let her settle for a second. Tyche, come.
Thank you, come.
Back. 1, 2, that's good. Now you're gonna pause, wait a moment. Get her to auto sit, tap. Good, now you're gonna pause. Now you're gonna move, tap, yeah, reposition that sit, no leash, just a remote. Keep where you are, don't move. Tap. What's your number now?
35.
Bump it. There she goes. Good. She heard me say bump it. She's like, nah. Now take 2 steps backwards. 1, 2, tap. Good. Wait a moment. Tap. Wait. Tap. Good girl. Now you're going to take 2 steps to your immediate left. 1, 2. Good. See how she went with you automatically? And there she puts her butt down. That's good. We're going to do one more and take one big step backwards. Tap. Wait a moment. Tap. Keep where you're at. Good. Wait a moment. Wait a moment. There she goes. And praise. Yeah, tap. There you go. Now praise. Good. Now we're going to pause right there. So did you see what happened there?
Who are you talking? Oh, me?
Anybody?
Yeah.
So you call her, you wait, you get the auto sit, then you make some movement. She should just automatically follow you. Once you stop, again, she should put that butt down. If you move again, she follows, she puts that butt down. So we're teaching her to default, like to stay with you, no matter what the movement is. Now, if she doesn't, you would tap her. And there was a couple times where she didn't move, but when she felt the tap, she turned around and went to run. The reason why this is super important is because we're doing two things here. We're cementing for Tyche, once we call you, you need to stick with us. You cannot leave prematurely. Two, we're forcing confusion. Some dogs will get confused and go, why did you tap me, and try to run off. So that gives us an opportunity to proof it and go, you never run away, you always want to come to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so we haven't seen that yet, but that's why I do this exercise, is for those two reasons, because I'm trying to make your recall as proofed as possible, so that if she's ever off leash and you call her, we don't have these problems, because it's super common where the owner will accidentally scare their dog away because they haven't proofed it enough. Okay, we're going to do a couple more. Break.
Get her leg out.
She's fine.
Get the leash out from underneath the leg.
She'll do it on her own, you know. Okay.
Back your tongue.
Good. Back, tap, back, back. 1, 2. That's good. Now wait. See what she does. Good.
Girl.
Now 2 steps to your right. Or back. Tap. Right. Wait a moment. Let her settle. Tap. Good. Wait. To your left. 1, 2. Tap. Good. Wait a moment. Good. And then 1 step back. Tap. There we go. Good. Wait a moment. Let her settle. Tap again. There we go. Very good. Praise.
Good girl.
Good job, Ron.
We're going to do one more. Break.
Ron, break.
Break.
To let her know that she's free to be free to walk around.
You can see her head twitch.
Terrible. I know, it's so sad. But she's doing really good, you are. Yeah, it's tight when she goes up against the edge.
She isn't there.
No, it's all on the floor. Let's go.
Good. Again, give the leash to my leg, please.
I'll just leave it.
Go in and call her.
Tyche, come.
Good. Don't forget to move back. 1. Tap, back, tap, 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 back, tap, 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 back. Move back a little bit, tap. Put some tension. Pull, pull, pull. There she goes. Good. That's okay. There we go. Good. And then you pick the directions this time. Any way but forward. Tap. Good.
One more.
Tap. Right, good. Yep. Tap. Wait a moment. That's fine. And praise. Very good. Go ahead and bring her over here. Break.
Break. Look, keep getting the break.
All right. So here, it's very simple. All we're doing is just adding in this extra layer to the recall. So when we practice with her, I would just put this in intermittently. Okay, I wouldn't drill this out too much, because the problem you had of like she won't leave you, this is gonna make that problem worse. Okay? But it's a good problem, because it's what prevents your dog from running away should something happen, like a squirrel or a rabbit or whatever. I'm wanting her to think that being close by is the safe zone, unless given the strict permission of, okay, now you're free to go. Okay? So practice. Use that collar anytime you go out. Make your life easy. Okay? If you're sitting there going like, man, I wish I was Tyche would behave herself and like not be pulling so much or whatever it is that she's doing that's annoying you, and you happen to be outside, I just go put the collar on. Okay? Because that's what's going to give you the control.
Yeah.
That's what's to make your life much more easier. If it was a quick out the pee and back, I don't care. If it was a reactive dog, and I'll tell you like, yeah, absolutely, you want to make sure you have that collar on.
So she's okay with that.
Yeah.
Because literally we have that place across the street.
Oh yeah, the middle.
So we're not like walking around the block or.
Sure. For the recall stuff, recall does take people the longest to practice. So that's not out the ordinary, but it's going to be even longer, right? And I understand, like, coordinating and all that stuff, schedules and everything like that. So what I would do, if possible, is make, maybe a walk to Grant Park and giving her putting the long leash and giving her the freedom to like walk into the park while you hold the end of the long leash, and to see if she ever like just learns to wander from you.
Okay.
And if she does start to wander, don't call her immediately because you want her to get comfortable.
Would you mind, check to see if this collar is too tight?
This is just right. It can be maybe one notch looser.
Okay.
But because where it's placed right now, the throat goes in. So like right now I have two fingers underneath the probes and it feels snug, but it doesn't feel like, ugh, this is very uncomfortable. Okay, and that's actually how it's supposed to feel.
Yeah, she's actually pretty well behaved for.
Like in another year, she'll be a different dog, I really feel like.
You're doing great.
I don't ever put anything on the dogs. It's super common.
Yeah.
The dog will grow out of it. You know how many times I hear that? And like I'll get people and I'm like, why didn't you ever like do this earlier? They're like, I thought the dog would grow out of it.
Oh no, I don't think the dog will grow out of it, but I think eventually between us doing this stuff and
Oh, yeah.
electrocuting her on a constant basis.
It's a pretty quick process. The reason why we get such fast results ourselves is because I am very generous with the remote. Tapping for everything, so the dog doesn't want to make any kind of mistake.
It burns her in.
And then I get very quick responses, very reliable control, because the dogs are moving so quick that they're like, yeah, I need to punch. I go, yeah, exactly, that's how the game works. You move very quickly, you don't get tapped. So.
What are we doing next week, Jess? Because it's our last week with you.
So typically the last class is like an overview, where we can review any commands that you're having issues with, whether it's the heel, the place, the recall, or all of them. So if you have like a list of like, hey, these are the things that we've done. Like, so we went over the place with Ron today.
Yeah.
If the heel, if there's questions with that, you just come in with the questions and then I help you read everything.
Would it be okay if we wait?
Yeah, I was just
2
going to say the
weeks.
same.
Just tell Maria.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll tell Maria.
I don't care.
We gotta get this
Because we-
boy down pat.
Yeah, we got a lot going on in our lives, so this will just give us extra time.
Well, it'd be better if you just pause your lives and just did training.
Oh, yeah,
You know?
listen, I know a fruitcake who thinks that. Melina, we